everybody's concerned with about the budget for the state fair, but I need to, first we want to start off by, are there any bill introductions for today? Anybody have any bill introductions? Seeing none, we'll move on to the matter at hand, is the state fair. And committee, what we're going to do is we'll hear from Victoria Potts. We'll give the presentation on the state fair, and then the agency, after she is done, then the agency will go review their notes. So, and then we can make our decision on what to support and where we go from there. So, and by the way, Senator McGinn had called and she's excused, and Senator Straub is online. So I don't know if you catch her or not. So, Senator Straub, we got you online. I just wanted to make sure you knew that. If you can hear us. All right. Then.
Yes, thank you. I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, good. First up is Victoria. Welcome to the committee.
Good morning. Thank you, Senator Kirshen. Again, my name is Victoria Potts with Kansas Legislative Research, and I will be presenting from the white document in front of you that says State Fair at the top. And just as a reminder, and just as Chairman Kirshen said, a budget hearing, many of you were present for last year's, but just as a reminder, I will be presenting first, and then an agency representative will be presenting. And then on Thursday for this specific budget, you'll be making recommendations for the state fair's budget. So you can add money, you can delete money, you can tell the agency you think they're doing a really great job. And so those recommendations move forward to Senate Ways and Means after you make those. So just a short reminder of how a budget hearing works. And with that, I'll start on that white document. The first couple of pages of this document are summary information. So we'll go into greater detail further on. So I'll move straight to page 3 of that white document. On page 3 of that white document, looking at that second graph, the State General Fund, the Kansas State Fair does receive State General Fund. Typically, it was their State General Fund was used only for debt service, but then in fiscal year 2021, the agency received $2.3 million in State General Fund to replace lost revenue. So as many of you are aware, the State Fair was canceled in September 2020. In order to make up for that lost revenue, the Legislative Coordinating Council gave the agency $2.3 million in State General Fund. So that explains that spike on that graph on page 3. 2023, those State General Fund monies are no longer available, so it returns to a more normal level. And we'll talk about that some more as we go through the budget. I'm going to move on to page 5 of that white document. Page 5 of that white document is the analysis for fiscal year 2022. And looking at item number 1 on page 5, State General Fund reappropriation. So as I just mentioned, the agency received $2.3 million in fiscal year 2021 to replace lost revenue due to the cancellation of the state fair. The agency carried over $1.5 million of that $2.3 million into fiscal year 2022. And that I would like to emphasize that's just due to the timing of the fiscal years, really. So it's not that the agency didn't need that $1.5 million. It's that the fiscal year ended on June 30th. So as the state fair is preparing for the actual event in September 2020, they spent some of the money in early summer, and then the rest is being carried over to pay for the actual event in September. So it's not that they didn't need the money, it was just timing of the fiscal year, which is why they carried over that $1.5 million. Looking underneath agency estimate on page 5, the agency estimates revised fiscal year 2022 expenditures of $6.4 million, including $1.7 million State General Fund. This is an all funds decrease of $1.2 million and a State General Fund decrease of $850,000 below the fiscal year 2022 approved amount. That State General Fund decrease can be explained by item number 3 on page 5, State Fair Master Plan Debt Service. The fair was originally scheduled to continue payments on its master plan until fiscal year 2024. But this summer, the Department of Administration, decided to pay off those bonds early. So originally, the State Fair was scheduled to make those payments, but it's now been paid in full, and those payments are no longer being paid in fiscal year 2022. I'll turn the page to page 6. Some other changes to the fiscal year 2022 approved budget. Item number 5, capital improvements. The agency is estimating spending a slightly increased amount in fiscal year 2022 than they originally budgeted for capital improvements, about $169,000. Item number 7, fair time workers. The agency is estimating increased expenditures for temporary fair time employees. And finally, I'll skip down to the governor's recommendation at the bottom of page 6, and the governor did concur with the agency's 2022 revised estimate. And Mr. Chair, I'll stand for questions on fiscal year 2022.
Thank you, Victoria. Committee, any questions for Victoria? 2022. Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you. I know that the governor had talked about what she's been able to do to decrease debt service. So you've given us the decrease in the expenditure. Do we know how much we saved on those bonds by paying them off early?
Sure. I do have that information on my computer, and I'll get back to you. I do know the final payment that was made this summer was $2.3 million, but I'll find out what they would have paid if they had continued to pay interest on those bonds.
Thank you.
Any other questions, committee, for Victoria? Seeing none, thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your presentation, Victoria. I think I asked this question last year, and I'm still trying to wrap my mind. When you look at like all funds, how much money comes from the city of Hutch and in Reno County? You know, because this comes in, they get a lot of sales tax, they probably have a lot of local stuff. I just like to make sure I understand what part they play in this game, you know, with that.
Sure. I don't believe that money from Reno County or the city of Hutchinson is reflected in this budget. I will find, sorry, I had to think about it just to make sure. I will find out from the agency if they don't answer the question. I do know they have a separate account with the city of Hutchinson and Reno County, but I don't believe it's reflected in this budget.
And if they have a local sales tax. So, thank you.
Any other questions? Senator Dahl.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is more for Senator Fagg. When you said local sales tax, do you mean a sales tax that goes directly to the state fair?
No, I'd be local sales tax that goes to the city of Hutch or to Reno County. Because all the people come into there, they get an extra tax. You know, it's a good thing for them, don't get me wrong, but I just want to make sure that understanding how that part of it goes, Senator Dahl.
I was just thinking some places have like a quarter-cent sales tax that goes directly to a specific thing, so I just wanted to make sure it wasn't that what you were. I didn't know what you were asking, so thank you.
Senator Reichman.
Thank you very much. And I want to go back to the bonds. I love the question that the previous senator mentioned on that. So are the bonds paid off?
Yes, Senator, they are paid off now.
Oh, praise the Lord. Thank you.
Anyone else? With that. So,
And Mr. Chairman, I still have fiscal year 2023 to go over, if that's okay.
all right, go ahead.
So we'll move on to page 8 of that document. On page 8, you'll see the analysis for fiscal year 2023. And I'm looking underneath the box. The agency requests fiscal year 2023 expenditures of $6.4 million, including $135,000 state general fund. This is an all funds decrease of just under $9,000 and a state general fund decrease of $1.5 million below the fiscal year 2022 revised estimate. So I'll talk about that state general fund decrease first. As I mentioned, the agency carried over $1.5 million into fiscal year 2022. Those funds are no longer available in fiscal year 2023, so that explains that state general fund decrease. And as for that all funds decrease, the agency is estimating slightly lower expenditures for gasoline and for advertising. And at the bottom of page 8, the governor concurs with the agency's fiscal year 2023 2023 request. And finally, we'll turn to the very back page of that document. On that very back page, that's page 14, is the agency's capital improvements request. So as a reminder, a capital improvement is an expenditure made by an agency to construct, rehab, perform repairs on any building or grounds that the agency owns. So obviously the state fair owns the fairgrounds, so that these are expenditures to repair those grounds every year. So looking at page 14, under the box, the agency estimates revised capital improvements expenditures of $765,000, all from special revenue funds in fiscal year 2022. This is an all funds decrease of $572,000 and a state general fund decrease of $735,000 below the fiscal year 2022 approved capital improvements amount. And just like we already talked about, both of those decreases are primarily due to paying off those bonds for the State Fair Master Plan. And it's a little bit offset by increased expenditures for ongoing maintenance. And the governor did concur with the agency's 2022 capital improvements request. And finally, the fiscal year 2023 capital improvements request. The agency requests $763,000, all from special revenue funds. This is a decrease of just over $2,000 below the fiscal year 2022 capital improvements estimate. And that's primarily due to decreased expenditures on the grandstand repair and offset by ongoing maintenance. And the governor did concur with the agency's fiscal year 2023 capital improvements request. And Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation, and I'll stand for further questions.
All right, thank you very much. Committee, any questions on 23? Seeing none? Oh, Senator Peck, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the debt service, I see on page 9, there is for fiscal year 23, $187,000 in debt service. I had heard that the bonds are paid off, so apparently it's some bonds, but not all bonds.
Thank you, Senator. Yeah, that's a great question. So the bonds for the State Fair Master Plan were the ones that were paid off. That debt service that you see is debt service for the Expo Center repair. So this year, the agency is starting to a project to repair its Expo Center. So that's the remaining debt service that you see.
And the repair cost?
The total project will cost $1.3 million.
And I see on page 9 that the debt service payment is $187. Then on page 14, it talks about debt service principal, which is $171. So it looks like, in round numbers, it's $16,000 a year in interest.
Correct.
And so the bond has been issued, and we have not made any payments on the Expo Center repair. Is that correct?
Fiscal year 2022, so the year that we're in, will be the first year. That's correct.
And so if we were to pay, since we've got a little bit of extra cash in the bank, pay that off, it would save taxpayers $16,000 a year in interest.
So just to make sure I understand, you're saying that they have extra because they paid off the master plan?
I'm saying if we just eliminated that bond, so there would be two questions, or primarily one. Can we pay it early? Because some of the bonds that we see issued don't have an early payoff. So could this be eliminated? Could this bond be paid off this year if we decided to appropriate the $2 million or whatever it was you said?
Whether, I'm sorry.
That might
Nope.
be a question for the agency if you do not know, Ms. Potts, but
Sure, so I don't know whether it's allowable to be paid off early, but something I would want to point out about the difference between the Expo Center repair and the master plan repair. The master plan was being paid with state general fund, so the agency was appropriated state general fund every year. This project is being paid with the state fair fee fund, so special revenue funds. So I'm not sure that the agency wouldn't have like the ending balance to fully pay off the bond because it's coming from special revenue funds as opposed to state general fund, if that makes sense.
I understand what
Great,
you're saying.
yeah.
We could shift funds from SGF.
Sure, yeah, if you want to appropriate $1.3 million to pay off the bond early from state general fund, absolutely.
Okay, I thought I was finished, Mr. Chairman, until you just said.
I'm sorry.
You said we could pay off the 1.3. I thought the bond was over 2 million.
No, the Expo Center repair is going to be 1.3 million if, for the total project including interest, so it would be a little bit less because if you paid it off now, so no, 1.3 million.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Victoria, you said revenue bond. Is that a direct obligation of the state of Kansas? You know, you talk about SGF and you're talking revenue.
Sure, so it's not, are you talking about the Expo Center, just to make sure? So it's not a tax obligated bond because it's not coming from state general fund. It's coming from the state fair fee fund, which is funded by like admission fees, food sales, et cetera. So it's not a taxpayer obligated bond.
Not a direct obligation of the state of Kansas then?
Correct.
It's based on the revenue. If the revenue didn't come in to cover that, what happens in that scenario?
I don't know. If say the fair was canceled again and they didn't receive the revenue from the fund, I'm not sure, but I'll find out.
Any other questions, committee? Seeing none, thank you, Victoria. Next, we have up State Fair. Welcome to the committee and for your report.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Brian Schultz. I'm the new general manager at the Kansas State Fair. Took over about 6 months ago, and I am very happy to be here. I first want to say thank you very much for all the support that you've given to the Kansas State Fair in the past and everything for the future. We truly appreciate it. As you're all aware, we are a fee-funded organization, and we are very diligent as far as our expenditures and watching our revenue to make sure that we're able to cover all of our expenses. Today I've created a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation for you to kind of go through some of the things that have happened this last year. The Kansas State Fair was started in 1913, and as you can see, it's a celebration of everything Kansas. We bring in, when we do our entertainment, we try working with Kansas-based organizations, including food, entertainment, roving acts, all that kind of information. In 2020, as it was stated, the Kansas State Fair, for the first time, was canceled. And it was a very difficult on us economically. We were having to reduce our staff by almost half. We had to furlough 4 of our management team members. And without the help of the legislature, we probably would have ceased to exist because our funding just wasn't there. And for all the expenditures that were needed to run our facility, we just didn't have the money. So we do appreciate the $2.3 million that was given. Some statistics from the 2022 or 21 fair. We had roughly 281,000 people in attendance at this year's fair. We did about just shy of 15,000 people coming through for our Kansas largest classroom, including over 55 counties. We had more than 24,000 people in our Next Tech Wireless Grandstand concert series. We had about 583 vendors at the fair this year. That includes concessionaires, includes vendors selling their products in our buildings. And the Carnival, North American Midway Entertainment, saw one of the best years that they've ever saw this year at the Kansas State Fair. Some changes that we've made. Again, we focused our branding on celebrating Kansas State Fair's mission, and that is celebrating all things Kansas. We did that through expanded branding, through our signage, merchandise, and our advertising. We had more of a presence with our tourism partnership. And again, like I said, we focused highly on our entertainers from Kansas for our free stage entertainment, and as well as our special events and contests. This was our 22nd year, or 21st year of our Legislative Grand Drive Showmanship, which was a great event. I'm not sure if any of you had, thank you for helping out. That was a great day. I even got pulled in, as you can see from the side picture there. Last minute, a young gentleman didn't have anyone to show, so they came over and grabbed me, and it's been a long time since I've done that, but it was a lot of fun. Grandstand opportunities. We changed up some things this year. We did a party on the patio, and what this was, or partner on the patio, basically what this was an opportunity for an organization to come out and an area on the grandstand that they could bring in their clients, their staff, and everything, and kind of have a little special guest thank you area. We also created a party pit, and what that is right out in front of the grandstand. That's where everybody wants to go and be up and close to the entertainment. So we created an area there. Working with the fire marshal, we were able to secure 1,000 spots right in front of the stand. Depending on some of the shows, we actually put down chairs, so that number changed drastically. What was new in 2021? Ike the Bison, he's our new mascot. Ike made his way across the state of Kansas in 2020 and 2021, getting people excited about coming to the fair. With People's Bank and Trust Arena, we had a free concert. We had Chase Beckham on the stage, which drew about almost 2,000 people. New competitions included poster contests, butter sculptures. Our pollinator garden was a great thing for the kids to come in and learn about pollination, agriculture, and then also the monarch butterfly route that comes through Kansas. Special Olympics Championship Livestock Showmanship for the Grand Drive. This was an opportunity for Special Olympics students to come in and learn how to show an animal, and then to receive prizes for their showmanship. Cargill was a sponsor of this, and these young individuals were so ecstatic about being able to have hands-on experience with these animals, and as was Cargill to be our main sponsor. We did a first ever pub crawl. This was an opportunity to do our craft beers and things like that to showcase, again, Kansas. We had about 140 people, and we had a waiting list that wanted to join in as well. Nelly was one of our biggest concerts in 2021 with about 4,800 people in the grandstands. Senate Bill 2, just what this does, creates the three-dimensional barrier on the fairgrounds to allow alcohol outside of the designated beer garden areas. It also gives us an opportunity to generate some funds into our capital improvements area, and passed the Senate last year with 31 votes, and we appreciate your voting on that. So where does our money come from? Again, we are a fee-funded based organization. Non-fair events are one of the secondary areas where we bring in money. Our commercial vendors, our corporate sponsors, food sales, RV park, that's another big one, gate admissions, tickets for our concerts, and our midway sales. So for some of the non-fair revenue, we had a total of 450 non-fair events in 2021. Projected income is about $750,000. Projected attendance is about 51,000. And some of the big things that happened in our RV park, right as soon as we finished up with fair, a week later, we had our 3 back-to-back RV rallies, including the Good Sam Rally, which brought in about 250 people and an estimated revenue of about $5,700. The heavy-duty truck rally, this is semis that pull campers. This brings in about 150 trucks and about $8,200. Our family camper event, about 600 people. They also, besides the RV park, they also rent several buildings on the grounds for their entertainment and for their meals and things like that. Brought in a projected revenue about $36,000. So in 2021, our RV rallies brought in a little over $50,000. Other non-fair events, weddings and quinceañeras. We do about 34 receptions in 2021. Average cost of the reception is about $1,000 for the rental of the facility. That doesn't include any of the ancillary, the tables, chairs, and things like that. That's just average rental cost. Attendance on average is about 350 people. Revenue about $34,000. Other events, and I'll just click through these really quick. These are some of the auctions and other events that we do on grounds throughout the year. And some of these have been with us for many, many years. And as you can see, it's a wide variety of things, from gymnastics to celebration of life ceremonies, to street rods, to the Hutch Nationals, proms, things of that sort. So what are some of the upgrades that we're doing here in 2022? The Capper project is one of the biggest projects that we're undertaking right now, and this is the Capper building is one of our oldest buildings, which was set in 1913, and it was named after Arthur Capper, who was a U.S. Senator and a former governor. And with Capper, they created the Capper-Volstead Act, which was how cooperatives got started here in Kansas. So our plan is to redo the whole Capper, House of Capper, along with the Capper Cooperative Park. And we're on track to dedicate that here in September. Give you a little bit of overview of, and the estimated cost of that is about $800,000. This money is all being raised privately through our foundation. And currently they're at just shy of 500,000 of that 800,000. So as you can see, the structure will go back to its original scope. It was all built out of wood, will be now out of metal. And then as you can see, the area to the right, you'll see that winding area. Each one of those black lines on there will be telling the story of the Capper-Volstead Act throughout, so people, when they walk through the park and into the building, they'll learn about the Capper-Volstead Act. Our Expo Center, as was talked about previously, this building has gone through a major renovation. We replaced the roof, replaced all the metal inside sidewalls, insulation, refurbished the columns that were showing wear and tear, improved the ventilation. We updated all the electrical service on there. Installed new lighting, which has helped out a lot for our shows that will be up and coming. And this again was a finance project and estimated about that $1.2 to $1.3 million. And that bond was purchased by First National Bank of Hutchinson. Roadways throughout the campus are in dire need. So every year we have started putting in roughly $125,000 for mill and overlay so we can hit all the areas and continue with making sure that they're safe. Our grandstand, as you can see, the 1910 photo, 1930s, how it's changed, and then here's today. This year, we're going to put in about $125,000 into cracking and weathering. We're going to go through all of the seats and retuck them, making sure that the water doesn't penetrate into the bottom and it's starting to eat away on the concrete, so we want to get ahead of that. Future projects, our Bison Arena is a big project that we're looking at for the future here. It was built in 1937 for a 4-H pavilion at a cost of $103,000. It was used by the Navy in World War II. In 2019, the fire marshal came in and closed it down, said because it didn't have adequate doors, it didn't have the adequate fire sprinkling system, that it could no longer be used. So we're in the process right now of turning that arena into an agricultural innovation center. Our estimated cost is between $15 and $20 million. This is just a quick run through of what the building looks like. I don't know if it's gonna. Skip on that one. We'll go into. So this is what the proposed plans are looking like. As you can see, this is to the top is to the north. One of the things that we would like to add on to there is a grain bin silo that we can use for meeting rooms and also a theater studio. Also a greenhouse and a garden area to showcase our Kansas agriculture. Inside the building, as you can see, currently it is a dirt floor facility, been used for cattle shows, for tractor pulls, dog shows, things like that. We would concrete the whole floor, bring in our museum as well as a gift shop. We're also looking at a commercial kitchen in there to showcase Kansas agricultural products. On the backside in the blue, you'll see where we are bringing in our birthing center. This is an opportunity to showcase agriculture as well. This is our second floor, adding on a little bit of an area for more meeting space. That's a big thing when you have a lot of events going on the grounds. We just don't have enough meeting space. So this would give the opportunity to do that. And then just some idea pictures of what it could look like. And as you can see, the second floor mezzanine up there for visitors. The plan for interior is to have all of the displays would be movable. So if we were to have a big convention come into Hutchinson, that we would be able to move things around and be able to use that space in many different areas. But our plan is to use it in a 365 aspect, bringing in kids to learn about agriculture, where their food comes from, and things of that sort. To ensure we just want to say thank you for all that you do and our continued the traditions that we have put together. In 2021, the IAFE, which is the International Association of Fairs and Expositions, awarded the Kansas State Fair a communications award for the following advertisement. And I don't know, there's no sound. So unfortunately, it's a phenomenal advertisement that we put together, talking about all the things from the big giant slide to all the food and rides and things of that sort. And just want to welcome you all to the 2022 Kansas State Fair, the 9th through the 18th of September. And at this point in time, I'd be open for any questions.
Thank you very much, Brian. Committee, any questions for Senator Fagg?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brian, on that First National Bank of Hutch that purchased the bond, what kind of rate was on that?
I want to say it was like a 2.3%, but I can find that out for positive.
And then when you look at the other question I had was on projected costs of this new deal, 15 to 20 million. Has there been any kind of cost analysis on, you're talking about these events that you get, probably non-fair events? It kind of helps subsidize some of the cost of that.
Right.
Has anybody done any?
We're in the process of doing that right now, kind of figuring out what kind of events could go in there. We're working with our Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Chamber, the state, and finding out what kind of events could come into the number of days. So we're putting that analysis together right now.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Senator Reichman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And thank you for this presentation, Brian. I guess my question is, as I was seeing all these numbers and how many people are showing up, how many vendors and so on and whatever, I would like to know how it has been in other years. a chart showing, of course, obviously, when we're not open, you're not going to have any.
Right.
But even the years before then, how much of a drop-off? I know last year when I came, there wasn't near as much as there normally was. Thank you.
We saw a 20% decrease in attendance this last year. Normal attendance is between 325,000, 350,000. We were at the 281. And that was, other than the carnival, everyone was pretty stationary as what they've seen over the last years.
Any questions, committee? Senator Fang.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had another one. Brian, did you get any COVID money or PPP money? How did
No.
that work out?
The only dollars that we received was the $2.3 million that the legislature gave us. We looked at writing those, but we weren't eligible for certain things. The International Association of Fairs and Expositions tried getting some of the shuttered venue dollars, but with the way that was written, only two or three fairs across the country even received any dollars from there.
Thank you. Any other questions, committee? I was looking, Brian, on page 8 of 2023, agency request, the savings there on number 2, gasoline and advertising. Is that your $15,000? Is that your promotional advertising?
Yeah, what we've been able to do is to work a lot with our radio stations and doing trade-out promotions, so that way it alleviates some of the actual dollars that we send out. They will give out, we'll give them so many tickets that they can use for promotion, and they do a lot more advertising for us other than the ones that we give there. So we're able to cut back a little bit on that. Also, in 2022 here, we are no longer going to be doing our app, our phone app. We were able to create in our website a mobile-ready website, which makes it so much easier not having to download the app or forgetting to upload the new app. So we were able to do that, and that's going to assist in cutting down our advertising costs.
Any other questions, committee? Not seeing any. Thank you very much, Brian.
Well, thank you again. We appreciate it.
Just get a response for his question.
Yes, absolutely.
Committee, the procedure is on handling, since we're a budget committee, our whole committee is, we have the designated day for hear the testimony from the agency, and then there's a day for us to make a recommendation, so we can mull around and decide. Our day is February 3rd, that's Thursday. That we would make a recommendation to accept or change or modify this plan. If you don't, we can accept it like it is and take the governor's recommendation, we don't have to meet on Thursday. But we need to know what your recommendation would be. It's not to influence anybody unnecessarily, but anyway, that's what we're tagged to do, and I just need to know, you want to come back and meet again on Thursday, or are you prepared to accept the governor's recommendation unless you have changes you want to make to specific areas? Senator Dahl.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When are we going to get the answers to Senator Fack's questions?
He can get through me or the senator himself, or to make sure.
Prior to Thursday?
Yeah. If we don't, we can call the meeting back. But for now, so what does the committee want to do? Are you comfortable with accepting the governor's recommendation at this point, pending finding out the answers to those questions? Senator Francisco, I think you're ready to say something.
No, I'm comfortable. I appreciate being brought up to speed, but this fair is important to a lot of people in Kansas. A variety of communities have state investments, so why not?
Concern? Oh, thank you. Are we meeting anytime this week other than Thursday?
We have another recommendation due on Thursday for another, Victoria just told me. February 3rd, Canton State Fair and Department of Wildlife and Parks. We would be recommending them also on the same day. would be, potentially we could make a recommendation on February 3rd for Wildlife and Parks and the State Fair. They're both scheduled for that.
We have time to get answers, and if there aren't any questions, perhaps we could take the action on the budgets on the 2nd.
When we had scheduled for the 2nd. That's right. Yeah, the College of Agriculture is going to report out on the 2nd.
Mr. Chair, I was only suggesting if we have no questions or changes to the budget, we could give ourselves 3 minutes each, and if we take more, we have to come on Thursday.
So somebody want to make that a recommendation or as a motion? So we all know what we're,
Let's wait and see what we hear from Wildlife and Parks. There might be more questions with that budget.
okay, so we'll tentatively leave it scheduled for February 3rd to make a recommendation. We won't make a recommendation here today. All right. Committee, any other questions, comments? We'll be meeting tomorrow in here again for Wildlife and Parks. You're hearing their budget analysis. So. Anything else, Senator Fagg?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The FTE position had went up pretty good. Somebody might talk about that a little bit too.
Okay.
So at some time.
Be a good time to mention that.
Yeah.
Include that in the request. Employee.
Yeah, the FTE like in 2021 was 20 and now it's 25. You know, won't be 23. I was wondering why the increase in 5 and what was going on.
I think Victoria's got, do you want to say something?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So fiscal year 2021 had lower FTEs because due to the cancellation of the fair in that year, several employees were furloughed and a couple more left in order, they were furloughed because the revenue for the fair wasn't there, and then at the same time, a couple of employees left. So fiscal year 2021 had lower FTEs. 25 is their normal number. So yes, so 21 was an unusual year. 25 is their normal number.
Okay, anything, other observations, questions? Seeing none, what we'll do then, we'll proceed for tomorrow to have Wildlife and Parks, and we will not make a recommendation today, and we'll wait till tomorrow pending the conclusion of those budget hearings. We can get, when all the answers are answered, we'll move forward. Any other questions? Seeing none, we are adjourned.